All right, check this out. So this is the next day. We did a little work and we didn't film it, but check it out. We got the front piece put back on. So it's TIG welded on. Man, that's a pain. This stuff's like maybe 30 thousandths thick, super thin, but we did manage to get that put back on both sides. And this is looking very lightweight. I'm pretty happy with it. It's giving me some ideas of how to do some, package some things after seeing the front come together. So what we're about to do next, you'll note we put this brace here. So right before I cut this off, before I cut the front of the car off, one of the last things I did was I measured the center to center distance between these two bolts. And I just wrote it down. And yesterday we cut a piece that is the correct dimensions and bolted it in to make sure that we had that part lined up. And I'm saying it looks pretty nice. But the true test is to see if the bodywork lines up. So unfortunately that's going to take a little bit because you got to do fenders, bumpers, hood, maybe, hopefully I don't have to do doors. I hadn't even thought of that. But anyway, we're about to throw some body work on this and take a look because we can still adjust. If you see me moving this, I have a little bit of adjustment left. So I could pull this basically up and down is probably all I can do, but I have a little bit of adjustment. So we just want to make sure we're pretty close. We're not going to like weld this out and then have a problem. But if it looks good, then we're pretty much, the plan is to just build tabs that go from say here to here and a tab that goes from there to there. So it should be pretty easy. Same thing on the other side. And go from there. I don't know if we'll do any additional bracing. We may. We'll probably play that by ear because it's got to be rigid enough that we don't run into problems. So go from there. But anyway, we're going to pull these, we're going to pop this brace off, take all these negative jigs off. I think we're done with those. Well, I think we are. I guess we'll see when we unhook this if it's still stays in the right spot. And go from there. So check this out. Kind of looks like a car when you put some of the body panels on. Alright, so we got our fenders and hood up. And we bolted them down, and we can tell that the frame that we put back isn't quite perfect, but it's pretty close. This fender pretty much bolted up and pretty well. That one had a slight, like it still bolts up, but you could tell it wasn't quite perfect, but it's close. So we fiddled around with the hood for about, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, and we had to put a little shim to, we don't have a hood latch or anything, so we just had to shim it to kind of get the height right, because this will otherwise, you know, have nothing to sit on. But anyway, we did that. And as we can see, the body lines are great. We're certainly up to Miata standards, and overall pretty happy with it. I know from previous dealings that if you sit here and mess with these, you can get them better. And I gave it a little effort, but I'm not going to put an hour into this because I'll probably end up taking all this back off, or at least I plan to. So overall, looks fine. I don't see the point in doing the bumper. Maybe I'll do a video and tell you guys how that was a mistake, but I don't think it's going to matter. Once all this lines up, the bumper should line up too. And anyway, just not going to worry about that. So this all looks good. I think we're about to build some tabs and just weld this sheet metal to our frame rails. So I suppose that's the next step. All right, check it out. So building up the brackets to hold this front end. So you can see we've already knocked out 2 of them. So there's one, and it just makes a little zigzag, as you can see. Attaches to the frame. Got a mirror image of it over here on the passenger side. Looks very nice. And this did exactly what you would hope. Like this structure is so rigid now. It's close to how it was from the factory. It's not the same, but it's close. But what we're about to do is we're about to do these corners, or to stiffen these. So this one we've got mocked up. It's just a right angle bracket. We trimmed it there. And if we come over here, it's hard to see, but we trimmed it to match that circle. That'll be more obvious when we're done. But it's all clamped up. It's looking good. About to grab the TIG welder, TIG that sucker up, go over there. We got a little cutting to do on that bracket, and it'll be ready. Clamp it up and weld it as well. All right, check this out. So we got the stuff welded up, and it's looking good. Got our brackets. Turned out real nice. Clean, simple, lightweight. Very happy how that went. And man, this shit is pretty rigid. Hear the vibration? That's because of the rigidity. The higher the natural frequency, the more rigid something is. So, looking good. They don't move. I tried leaning on the fenders and everything. Seems fine. So all around real happy. And you can see these brackets are pretty simple. Just a piece of metal. Look at that, we even cut it to match the circle. So looking good. And gotta think about what's next, because I didn't know I'd get this far today. But we may do a little more, we may knock off, but see what we're gonna do. So check it out. We put the front bumper on. It's only got a couple bolts holding, literally 2 bolts holding it in, but it fits. It doesn't fit perfect. We can now see that when we put the front end or some of our sheet metal work, it's close, but it's not perfect. If it shows up on camera, the side over here has the gap is slightly bigger where the bumper meets the hood. It's not much, but it is a little bit. I got these clamps just kind of holding the bumper up because, like I said, there's only 2 bolts in it. But overall, not bad. Could be better, but considering, you know, I'm not a body person, so this is workable. This car's always, I think all Miatas have like that gap there's a little bigger than you'd think. And I don't have the hood like being pulled down. Normally there's a hood latch that pulls this down, which that helps. And so this looks like stuff you can play with. For example, where these bolt up, I can take those bolts and loosen them and move that around a little bit. It does look like the bumper needs to get slid back a little to help with the hood disalignment. But overall, it's not too bad. It looks like we can work with it. So kind of cool seeing the front of the car back on there. That's nice. So probably about to knock off for the day. We're kind of having some thoughts about fuel pumps and fuel tanks. It'd be nice to get the fuel tank in the front of the car and do a mechanical drive on the pump. We got our fuel pump, our mechanical pump is really tight and hard to turn, and I haven't tried to measure it to see like how much power it takes, but I'm afraid that driving it with an electric motor may not work as well as I was hoping. So we may end up driving it with the engine. We may be forced to, but if we do that, we really need the tank in the front. So probably in the next episode, or at least coming up soon, we're going to take another look at, you know, what it would take to get a fuel tank up here, because I don't know where it would go, and there's rules about how it has to be shielded and stuff, so we'd have to deal with all that. And there ain't much space, so it may not even happen, but we're going to at least look into it again, see if there's any way we can think of to do it. So that'll be it for now, and until next time, y'all take it easy.